Hey paisanos, it's Pizza Skeleton! With the Mario movie hitting theaters, it wasn't that long ago that we got our first look at Illumination's take on the world's most famous plumber. While impressions were overall positive, there were a few notes made here and there. But this is far from the first redesign for Mario. Most people are aware of some of his more stylized renditions, but they all still center around that core design that, in a nationwide poll taken in 1990, was determined to be the #1 most recognizable fictional character in America. It wasn't always like this, however. In fact, Nintendo's intense protection of Mario is a relatively recent development. I was recently watching a video by YouTuber JJ McCullough, link in the description below, that detailed how little care went into building Mario as a character. To very quickly summarize, most things that we know about Mario, including his Brooklyn roots and his very name, come from the US of A. Unfortunately, so do YouTube Poop the Game and Bob Hoskins' Greatest Regret. As you can see, Mario's depictions were a real mixed bag. JJ's video made me remember an old Game & Watch advertisement I saw once, which I'll discuss later in the video, and I realized that Super Mario has had a lot of looks over the years before settling on the round, lovable little guy we know today. I thought it would be fun to go back through time, all the way back to Donkey Kong in 1981, and watch as Mario's appearance becomes more and more abstract. And just look at some funny things that people got away with along the way. Before we begin, I'd like to also give a shout out to the website Supper Mario Broth for cataloging an impressive amount of Mario trivia. In fact, a great deal of my images come from there, so check them out for more weird, esoteric Mario lore. With that in mind, let's start in 2014 with this cover for the Miami New Times featuring some very lumpy brothers and this 2013 Chinese advertisement for very hard ceramic tiles. Okay, so these aren't really different directions for Mario's character, but I felt the world needed to see them. Instead, let's go a bit further back to 2002 for Nintendo of Japan's more manga looks for Mario as seen in this website artwork for Wrecking Crew, or back to 1997 for this Mario Kart 64 manga. Peach sure is looking shiny-eyed. Japan is no stranger to odd Mario findings. The Satellaview for the Super Famicom released numerous weird Mario images to those with the service, but to me, the crown jewel is this beauty from 1996 where Bowser is just straight up shooting Luigi with a gun. Who would have thought Nintendo themselves beat early 2000s Newgrounds animators to the punch? Getting back on track, here's a funky little fella from 1995. This was actually concept art for Super Mario RPG, showing how Mario would move in 8 directions. While this is still clearly Mario, his proportions make him a cute little guy, and I wanted to add him. So let me make it up to you by moving to 1994's Russia for a brief moment to bring you this illustration from a coloring book. It gets better the longer you look at it. I'm pretty sure Yoshi is a pickle. Let's get back to Japan. We'll start with something else from '94, and that's this guide to Donkey Kong. Mario doesn't look too off-model, but I had to look at Pauline's mouth, and you do too now. So take that in. You done? Okay. It's 1993, and that means the live-action Super Mario Bros. Movie is out. That also means Japan made a manga adaptation of the film. Check it out! Bob Hoskins is just a little guy, and Dennis Hopper has never looked better. This brings us back to American soil and the Western view of what a Mario looks like. Going back to 1989, here's an interesting-looking cast featured in an ad for the Donkey Kong Jr. Game & Watch. This isn't the ad I promised, though. We haven't gotten to the origins of Game & Watch yet, but we are in the 80s now. That means it's time to get hooked on the brothers. Here's some concept art for the Super Mario Bros. Super Show. And here's a coloring book page revealing that Mario can skateboard despite some very clumsy proportions, and here's a collection of surprisingly angry Marios from some collectible figurine packaging. One step backwards into 1988 brings us more Super Show concept art, but this time for the live-action segments. And the box art for the Atari 7200 version of Donkey Kong.
Okie dokie.
Now things really start to diverge because it's 1987 and it's time for the Commodore 64 version of Mario Bros. Featuring this guy. Did we lose a brother along the way? I can see why. Even the ZX Spectrum managed to make a more convincing Mario, and his mustache is a negative zone. Japan was struggling with Mario at this point still too, as you can see in these game guides for Super Mario Bros. And Lost Levels. Just imagine if this was the final design Nintendo went with. Take a moment and savor this face. Beautiful. 1 year earlier, in 1985, there was also this artwork from a Japanese guide for Wrecking Crew. Look at those little dweebs. They're gonna hurt themselves. Also, yes, the R there stands for Ruigi. 1984 brought about some real abstract Marios with this artwork from a guide to Family Basic for programming on the Famicom, and this PC 8801 box art for Nintendo's Golf. Mario's looking more friendly than he did in 1989, but perhaps a little less capable. Now then, it's time for the glorious year of 1983, with the release of Mario Bros. The original artwork for this game is recognizably Mario, but advertisements for anything featuring Mario, or Donkey Kong, was anything but. Americans apparently had no idea what a Mario was yet when advertising for the Game & Watch. Or what an Italian was, for that matter. Mario and his loony brother Luigi are clad in lederhosen for some reason. So when do these versions of the brothers get their big break? Come on, Nintendo, you cowards. I'll be honest, that's probably the bottom of the barrel, but we're still going because Mario still hasn't reached his final form. In 1982, Donkey Kong and Donkey Kong Jr. were all the rage, and our Prime Plumber adorned box art for all number of versions of the games. Stickers, word puzzle books, where he's clearly portrayed as bald, and a beach towel where he's suddenly Wario? What happens if we go 1 year further back? Well, this is it. It's the release of Donkey Kong. Look at that fellow down there. That's not too far from the Mario we know, even that many years ago. Surely the ports of the game will keep such a marketable design similar. How about it, Atari 2600? Oh, no, that's not exactly... Wait, what's that? You had another attempt? Let's see it. Oh, wait. Is that... It's all going full circle. Never mind, forget this whole video. It's just been the one clown this whole time.